Hey everyone, Serena Starlight Witch here. I hope everyone's doing well and fabulous today. Sorry if you hear a loud noise. I'm sitting in front of the air conditioning because it is extremely hot. So I have a little witchy tip for you guys, and here it is. So I have some red paint here. I got this for like 50 cents off of Amazon. So this is red paint. So if you don't know, the color red is extremely protective and powerful. It is the color of blood, so it is also the color of life force. You know, it's like a very powerful color. So it is one of the best colors to use for protection. It is extremely protective. That's why when you see like evil eye bracelets, some of them have a red string, and that's because red can ward off evil. It is very, 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 very protective, and that's because it's connected to life. The root chakra is connected to blood, and you know our blood, in a way, has our essence in it, like our energy. So it is like the color of life. My mentor, and I can't say what type of magic he practiced, but he was part of a closed practice that you don't even hear of. Like, you never hear about it. It's very, like, top secret. And one of the things he taught me was how protective the color red is. And he would tell me to wear red a lot and to wear red bracelets and stuff. Now, the color indigo, purple, and blue is also very protective, especially purple. Purple is more of a psychic color. It's the color of witches. It's, you know, witches will often paint their doors purple to represent that a witch lives there. So it's often used to represent power, spiritual power, psychic abilities, you know, your crown chakra, your third eye, stuff like that. But it can have a protective aspect to it, and especially blue. That's why you see like witches bottles. You see people hanging like blue bottles in trees. So you know how some people have trees with blue hanging bottles? That's to ward off evil spirits. So me, I save, like, I don't drink, but if I'm around people who drink, I always ask them to give me their beer bottles, or they're the glass kind. Now this isn't going to look pretty, you know. If you're hanging beer bottles in your tree, people probably think you're on drugs or something. But blue and indigo is very protective. That's why you have things like indigo water, blue bottles. You know, you can hang up you can put like blue bottles in jars that are glass. It has to be glass, like in your windows. So yeah, red and like the dark blue, bluish, purplish color. You can use light blue, but you want to use more of the darker blue. Like I said, the beer bottles are perfect. All that wards off evil. So red paint. I want to teach you guys a little trick. So you have to ward your house. It's very important that you ward your house. And one way that you can ward it, and you have to protect each room, as well as the front of your house and the back of your house. You also want to include things like plumbing and electricity. So what you could do with red paint is paint protective symbols on your doors and windows. Now, this isn't going to look pretty. People may think you're on drugs. You know, if someone asks me, I'd just be like, oh, it's a religion thing. They're like, why do you have all these weird red painted symbols all over your house? I just like, it's a religious thing. It's a, you know, I don't say spiritual practice, but they may think it's satanic or something. I just say, oh, it's a religion thing. It's nothing bad. So yeah, you want to paint on, and like I said, use red or blue, but I really think red is best for this. Red is really, 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 really protective. So you can even like paint your rooms red. It's very, very good to ward off evil. Red or like purple, blue. So yeah, you don't have to get every door and window, but you want to make sure you get each room. So you should be drawing protective symbols. You should be drawing protective symbols all over your house anyways. Now your house is very, very important. Like, even if you protect yourself, if your house is not warded and protected and locked up thoroughly, you're going to get hit with something. Most of the time, if something's going to hit you, it's got to enter through your house first, or it's going to, or it will at some point. So you want to get entryways, which are doors, windows, drains even. Any inner way out of your house. Even if you can't get out, like your house through a drain, other things can. So earthbounds, evil entities, all bad things that are out there, they're going to enter your house through doors, windows, drains, etc. So you want to make sure those things are always warded and locked in some shape or form. There's so many ways to do this, but I have many different forms of protection, but this is one thing I like to do. Of course, I'm not going to share all my protection techniques. You should never do that. But this is one thing that everyone can do, is painting symbols on their doors and windows with red paint. If you can't get every door and window, like I said, you at least want to get one door or at least one window in the room. And you want to get the back and front of your house in each room. You really, really, really need to try to get the back and front door. If I don't give a shit if people judge me, if they think I'm on crack. I hate to imagine what the Amazon delivery people think of me. But anyways, so yeah. Now, before you paint, you know, squirt your paints on a dish or whatever, and you want to pray over it. You want to bless and empower it. So speak your intentions over the paint. You know, I bless and empower this red paint. And you also want to call in either an entity that you're devoted to, like Hecate, Archangel Michael. I call in God. I call in Mother Mary. I call in the archangels, Hecate. I call in the Ascended Masters. I even invite in Jesus. I invite them all in. The more protection, the better. So I call them in and I ask them to infuse the paint with their essence. And I tell them, please infuse this with your essence. Leave an offering, like I have some incense burning. Tell them, you know, like, here's some incense as offering. Thank you, everyone. Make sure to show gratitude. Always say please. You know, don't ever demand. Always say please, Mother Mary, please Hecate, please come forth and do this for me. Explain to them they're not mind readers, and always send them off with gratitude. So you want to say, you know, please infuse this paint with your essence to protect and ward my home. You want to include everything: energies, entities, spells that does not serve my highest good, anything that my enemy sent to me, anything that my haters sent to me. Protect this home from all evil, jealousy, natural disasters, people with ill intent. You know, you want to include every possible bad thing, because again, they won't do anything unless you speak it out loud. So yeah, tell them to infuse the paint. enchant the paint, speak your intentions over it, and paint the symbol. And while you're painting it, focus, and once it's done, visualize the symbol pushing out with bright white light energy, and kind of hear like a locking sound. So you want to see it glow, and anytime you come across it, see it glow. So you can use any protective symbol that resonates with you. I'm not going to get away my protective symbol, but you can use a cross, you can use Hecate's wheel, you can paint multiple symbols. It don't have to just be one. I'm not artsy in any shape or form, so my symbol literally looks like shit. But if you're artsy, if you're good at painting, if I was good at painting, if I was good at drawing, I would take full advantage of that. And I'll paint all kinds of stuff. Like if you can paint like a Hamza hands, evil eyes, stuff like that, go for it. And you can enchant the paint. So you can do like a whole ritual enchanting the paint. I honestly did not feel like doing that, and I already have so much protection up as it is. This is honestly something I was just doing for fun. And so I didn't go through that process. But if you want a very, very even like more stronger protection, I recommend enchanting that. Just look up how to enchant something, like how to enchant jewelry. There's YouTube videos on it, and you do the same thing with the paint. It's not a piece of jewelry, it's paint, but that's how you basically enchant anything. You do it with herbs, oils, and candles. Do it on an altar, or you can set it on like an altar of someone you're devoted to, like Hecate. Give her an offering, leave it on her altar, ask her to infuse it with protection. So yeah, I would do something spiritual with the paint first to make sure it's infused with protective energy. As I was saying, to make sure it is infused with protective energy. Like I said, just leave it on an altar, charge it on the full moon. I'm not going to tell you everything, but you get the gist. You can even put like some protection oil in it. I didn't do that because the paint is cheap paint, and I don't know if I would mess it up. But some people do put protection oil in their paints. But yeah, protection symbols are very powerful. I recommend that you use them, like even crosses. Like I'm a witch that I used to have a lot of beef with Jesus in the church, but I'm working through that. I'm working through my church trauma. Because believe it or not, Jesus has been coming to me, wanting to be a part of my spiritual practice. And so he's been wanting me to use the cross more. So yeah, I'm trying to get more comfortable with it, but I really don't have no problem with Jesus, the Christian spirits. So the cross is, seen as a powerful protective symbol pretty much all over the world. So if you want to use the cross, that's totally fine. I always tell people who are not spiritual, I always tell them you want to at least, like have a cross in your house or something, because most evil entities recognize it as a symbol of protection, and they're, they don't like it. So even if you're not a witch, even if you're not religious or spiritual, like, I tell people at least, have a cross in your house. So crosses are, believe it or not, very protective as well. It's good to have a cross in your house. Now, if you work with demons, you want to be a little careful about this. I mean, demons and angels, they're two sides of the same coin, two different sides of the same coin. They're both needed, dark light is both needed for existence, they're not actually at war with each other, but their energies don't mix very well because, one's dark, one's light. So if you work with demons, you might want to use like the sigil of the demon, I mean, it's okay to work with demons and Jesus. It's okay to work with demons and have a cross. You just might not want to have too many crosses, So yeah, be careful about combining energies, mixing energies, do your research. If you don't know any better, use a cross. Or like the Hamza hand or the evil eye. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I got off a little bit on a tangent. I tend to talk a lot. But yeah, I just wanted to explain some things. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, comment down below. Don't forget, comment, like, subscribe. I'm going to be posting more videos. I just don't have a lot of time. I'm usually busy like doing spells and readings, and I don't have the time to post as many people have the time to post. I don't know how people post every day, multiple times a day. I don't know how people post even multiple times a week, because I don't have the time for that. So I apologize for the lack of content. And I love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Bye!